intercessor.
Okay, well, for me, like I said, I came to Christ late in life, so I don't have any spiritual role models. Back in my day, Billy Graham was big, So
when you were in the world, did you know about him? Like, what did you think about him?
The only thing that I would say that I really thought about him was I noticed that he was probably the only one who never got caught up in anything, and he was always all about going everywhere, talking about Christ and talking about God. And it just seemed like his life always matched what he said. No matter what you read, you just never heard anything negative about him.
I wonder if that's a good thing.
Well, to me, if he's following God, I mean, if you can't. That's just how I looked at it. That's how I personally gauged it, because there were a lot of others out there that they may do good for a while. They may act like they're a certain way, but sooner or later things would come out and they would fall from their pedestal. And Billy Graham just never seemed to it just seemed like no one ever found anything. I don't know if anyone was ever looking, but nothing ever came out about him. So
when you were in the world, how did you actually hear about him?
Because every now and then, he would, you would hear about how he would talk to one of the presidents, whether they were coming into office or whatever. And it would be on the news. I mean, I wasn't much of a news person, but at the same time, I believe that God finds ways here and there to put himself in situations to make you aware. And even though you may not know that you're aware of it, there is a time, I've told the story once before. When I was about 12, I was outside playing with some friends of mine, and there was this man walking down the street, and about 2 blocks down the road, there was just something about him. I mean, literally, there was just something about him. I could see an aura about him. And the kids that I was playing with, I told them, I said, he's a preacher. They're like, how do you know that? I'm like, I don't know. I just know he's a preacher. And I didn't go to church. We didn't raise in church. And when he got to us, he spoke as he was walking by, and I said, can I ask you a question? He looked at me and he's like, yes. And I just asked him what he did, and he told me that he was a pastor. And so to me, even from a young age, to me, that's kind of how I gauged who I thought people of God were. You should look differently than everybody else. And I just didn't see that at all.
That's interesting. So you, like you said, you came to the Lord late, right? Mm-hmm. So a large portion of your life was in the world.
Yes.
Right. So while you were in the world, was it like that? How often was it that you noticed that somebody was a believer?
Well, what I would say is, since I've came to the Lord, God has shown me that there's just something within me that He has placed, that I just know things, and I can't explain to anybody how I know them. I just know them. And so in all of my years of living that I can actually remember, He's the only person that I can actually ever point out that when I saw Him, I knew, even from a distance, I knew He was different. And outside of that, there's only been one other person, and that was when I came to Christ late. This time it was a woman. And even to this day, she epitomizes what the love of Christ looks like. So my son will be 33 this year. In 29 years, I've seen her mad twice. She loves everybody. She accepts everybody.
I definitely can't claim that for myself.
Well, I'm sure in reality, that that's not the case. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying that in all the time that I've spent with her, and that I've seen her interact with people of the world and people in the church, because she is a minister. She's an evangelist. I've only seen her angry twice. And you can look at her and you can see that there is something different about her. Well, and for people who are, and since I came to this church, for people who are really about God, you can look at them and you can see that there is something different about them. Or I can.
Yeah, or you can. Right?
I can.
Well, I think that may be a gift of discernment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mm-hmm. I agree. I believe it is. That's one of the things that I had to before I came to the Lord is, actually, I started to notice it more as I came to the Lord, but I would be on the school bus and I would instantly like real or know in the spirit. I'd be looking down and I'd know in the spirit when a person came on that was not spiritful, that was filled with the enemy. I could just know it, and I didn't know how I knew it or how I knew what I was understanding. But I do believe that's a gift.
Well, see, for me, where I have like a gift of sight, what I call sight, because when the enemy is on somebody or in somebody, I actually, for me personally, when I see them, I can actually see a difference in the color of who they are, a physical difference in the color of who they are. I've talked to people. Like, I remember a situation where I was talking to somebody, and all of a sudden they got angry about something. They felt disrespected or whatever, and all of a sudden everything about them changed. Their eye color went black.
Wait, what?
Yes, their physical body. Now, I'm sure if someone else looked at them, if they wouldn't have saw the same thing. I'm just saying that when I am around somebody and I call it an evil presence. I mean, I don't know any other way to say it.
Yeah.
Their skin color darkens. And so if I'm talking to an African American person, they actually get darker. And so I can tell, like I was talking to
that's
this.
Definitely spiritual sight, yeah.
So I was talking to this one gentleman, and when I started talking to him, he was already dark, but the more we talked and the more he was able to get out what he needed to get out, and I tried to encourage him, I could see his skin tone get lighter.
Really?
Yes.
Huh. Wow.